Ratnam sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Right, sir.
Sorry,
Shall we
2
start?
minutes.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon to all the participants. Today is third session and last session for day one. I welcome Dr. A. Ratnam, Professor of Electrical Electronics Engineering, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Katangalattur. So I welcome him to present a session on optimization in electrical engineering. So for this induction refreshment programs, we have planned two sessions which is specifically concentrated on soft computing techniques related to the electrical applications. Since we are mainly depending on soft computing techniques for all our day-to-day problems. So we have planned for two sessions with optimization electrical engineering as well as an AI-based high voltage apparatus analysis also in our day 4 also. So I welcome our Dr. A. Ratnam, Professor of Electrical Department. Hand over the session to Dr. Ratnam, sir. Sir, kindly proceed, sir.
Yes, sir. My screen is visible, sir.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. You can go for the PPT, sir.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. 1 second.
Oh, okay, sir. Yes, sir. Visible. You
Yes,
can
sir.
go for full
Welcome,
screen,
sir. Welcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me thank the organizers and the head of the department, Dr. Karthik sir and Dr. Ilago sir, for giving us the wonderful opportunity to present it before the participants here.
You can minimize the screen, sir. And
some noise is there, sir. That's why.
Okay, right, sir. I hope I tried to mute all the participants.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Sir, you are audible.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you. So once again, I thank everyone for the opportunity in presenting this. So right now, what I consider here is, let me give certain important concepts behind the optimization, right from the basic definition onwards, and moving on to soft computing techniques and how we can approach any engineering solution or engineering problem if it is pertaining to the optimization, how that can be approached with respect to the solution, providing the solution or getting the solution, and how the algorithms similar to particle swarm optimization can also be applied. And we have certain case studies and applications what we have done as a projects in undergraduate and postgraduate. I will give certain case studies of that. So I also understand that many of the eminent professors and teachers are there who have already done wonderful work in this. So I will keep it short with respect to the concept oriented things and skip some of the slides so that we will take up more applications or case studies. So optimization is the one which we apply in our day-to-day life in every walk of our situations, and in every minute we are trying to apply it in all real time. And coming to the mathematical aspect of it, so in the smooth function of such cases, based on the x-axis and y-axis values, we define the peak points where we find that maximum and minimum of the smooth function is reached at a stationary point where the gradient vanishes. So mathematically, the gradient which is computed at the maximum points or the two different optimum points, it vanishes at that particular point. So that is the tip with which we are trying to find out the maximum and minimum of any function. So some of the major personal decisions what we do, like finding the best route from our cabin to the classroom, or from the classroom to cabin, or from home to the campus, or from the campus to the home, etc. And also we prioritize all the works, and we allot the time in an optimal manner for all our work, especially mainly on the budgeting. So in the budgeting, what we do is the maximizing the efficiency, minimizing the losses, or maximizing the profit, minimizing the losses. So what is the goal of an optimization? It is to find the values of the variables that minimizes or maximizes the objective function while satisfying the constraints. So how do we define an objective function? It is the one mathematical equivalent function what we want to minimize or maximize. For example, in a manufacturing process, we wanted to maximize the profit or minimize the cost. So in a combined factor, in a combined way, what we can say here is maximizing or minimizing combinedly, we can call it as an optimum value. So optimum is a common word which is given for both the maximum and minimum. So in the fitting experimental data to a user-defined model, we might minimize the total deviation of the observed data from predictions based on the model. Another example, in designing an inductor, we might want to maximize the quality factor and minimize the area. So these are all the smaller objectives pertaining to the problems. So inductor is an element. While designing that, what we want to maximize, what we want to minimize. So it can be a individual problem, individual application, or we can even combine that. When we combine that, we call that as multiple objective or multi-objective optimization methods, wherein maximization and minimization together are going to be a conflicting objective. How are we going to achieve, or how are we going to combine such conflicting objectives as a single function, or treating that as a multiple functions itself? How can we get the solution? So in the all such problems, in the all such applications, what we choose are being called as design variables. What are the design variables? A set of unknowns or variables that affect the value of the objective function. So we focus on maximizing and minimizing certain parameters. We define that as a mathematical function. Such functions are being influenced by a set of variables or parameters that is being called as a design variable. So in the manufacturing problem, what we have already seen, the variables might include the amounts of different resources used or the time spent on each activity. In fitting the data problem, the other one, the unknowns are the parameters that define the mathematical model. In the third application, in the inductor design problem, the variables used to define the layout geometry of the panel. These are all the some parameters. So what we need to take from this particular slide is there are certain design variables which affect the objective function of any problem what we are addressing. And the importance what we need to do here is we need to choose those particular design variables which are very much have an influence directly on the mathematical function or the one which we wanted to optimize. And moving on, we have the constraints, a set of constraints that allow the unknowns to take on certain values but exclude others. For the example, what we have considered in the manufacturing problem, it does not make sense to spend a negative amount of time on any activity. So we constrain all the time variable to be non-negative. There is no meaning of negative time in such manufacturing work allocation problem. That is what it is being meant. In the inductor design problem, there are certain upper and lower values of layout parameters and target the inductance value within a tolerance value, a minimum and maximum value, a bounded value, a minimum and maximum, a range value. So such are the constraints we need to define, because if we get some solution which is out of that particular constraint, there is no meaningful information or there is no meaning in the real-time scenario. So why do we move from the application in any scenario, whether it is manufacturing or industrial design problem or relay coordination or any other electrical engineering application, tuning of control, PID controllers, etc. in real time, in any equipment or a physical device or any other system, it should be able to be incorporated in the individual implementation. If it is of no use, there is no need to conduct such optimization problems. So getting the solutions, satisfying the constraint is the objective in getting the solution. So almost all the optimization problems have objective functions. There are no objective functions in some cases. For example, design of integrated circuit layouts. The goal is to find a set of variables that satisfy the constraints of the model. So the user does not particularly want to optimize anything, so that there is no reason to define an objective function. This type of problem is called feasibility problem. Somehow I wanted to achieve. When I achieve within certain constraint, that itself is enough. I don't want to maximize or minimize something. I need to fit in that variables into the function. That is enough. That sort of problem is called feasibility problem, where there is no objective function. But 90% of the problems have the objective function as a problem definition. So variables are essential. If there are no variables, we cannot define the objective function and the problem constraints. And the constraints are not always essential. In fact, the field of unconstrained optimization is a larger and important one, for which a lot of algorithms and softwares are available. What we need for optimization, modeling is the process of identifying the objective function, variables, and constraints. In other words, focusing on a real-time problem in the actual scenario, we need to convert that into an objective function, a set of variables, and a set of constraints. A good mathematical model of the optimization problem is needed to solve it. Now, moving on to the algorithms, typically an interesting model is too complicated to be able to solve with paper and pencil. An effective and reliable numerical algorithm is needed to solve the problem. So in other words, the algorithm and the computing facilities are required beyond a threshold limit of the problem. So what we need to do is, we need to go to the level of the complication where it cannot be solved by mathematically in using the hand calculations. So we need to go for an algorithm where it should have been like robust, efficiency, and accurate. So robustness in terms of its performance, efficiency as in terms of number of amount of computer time, and accuracy with less error. So these are all the basic blocks which we need to do it again and again in terms of getting the proper solution for the real time. So somewhere in the real time, we need to identify the need for the optimization. Once that optimization is decided that it has to be applied, we need to identify what is that we need to maximize or minimize, irrespective of how many number of objective functions, and choose the impactful design variables for such functions. And when after defining such functions, identifying the constraints for those design variables, what is the range, minimum and maximum, whether it is to be non-negative or negative, etc. Then complete the objective function with the formulation. So we have a very well-defined optimization problem with objective functions, proper design variables with the set of constraints. Nature of constraint can also be defined. It can be equality constraint or inequality constraint based on the nature in which we define the constraints with the equivalent sign or not. So set up the variable bounds, select the optimization algorithm, obtain the solutions. In any one particular stage of this particular development cycle, if we are unable to get a proper solution, we are able to not get satisfied with any of the formulation. At any point of time, we can go back and recorrect so that we end up in the best way of defining the real-time problem and get the best solution. So what we are going to focus today is on the how do we get the optimization algorithm which is most suited for a universal set of problems. We can give the guideline in our ways of documentation or in the papers, so that people who have a similar nature of problems in their field will also be able to observe that and squeeze in the experience what is being exhibited in the paper and can apply, verify and improve on that. So that is a objective of doing certain research and record it in terms of papers. So in the mathematical formulation, minimize the objective function f of x. X is the design variable, x ranges from x1 to xn, where the Ci of x is having an inequality or inequality constraint. C of x is equal to equality constraint. So the example is also given. The constraints are of two types. Equality constraints as shown in here, which involves the numerals and constants with respect to the design variables. The variable bounds are inequality constraint between lower bound and the upper bound, minimum and maximum. So when we define the varieties of mathematical technique which has been developed from the long back, we have single variable, multivariable based on the number of variables available, constraint and non-constraint based on whether the limitation is being provided or not, and the single objective and multi-objective based on number of objectives which are being combined in a particular problem. The objectives can even be conflicting nature in multi-objective nature, or in the multi-objective problem it can be even conflicting nature, so that we will end up in a balancing both the objectives in the best possible way. And in the nature of the objective function, we define that as linear optimization problem or nonlinear optimization problem. So moving on from the vast researchers and mathematicians who have done, we can see this particular slide gives us the idea of how we need to choose the optimization method which is good for my application or my focus of work right now, based on my understanding of that particular application. If it is very clear whether it is a linear optimization problem, is it a single objective optimization problem, whether it is a multi-objective, if so, how are we going to combine, what is the nature of the variables, whether it is integer, discrete, binary, etc. So having known the thoroughness of my optimization problem, which I have converted my application of the real-time problem into a mathematical optimization problem. When I am thorough with my domain knowledge of such nature, where I define my problem exactly, and mathematically also I make it clear based on the previous literatures, then the first one, the choice of the optimization method, is very easier in terms of getting the solution. So we can find that the varieties of variables, nature of objective functions, and the constraints natures, how does it matter in the getting the solutions in various optimization methods are shown in this slide, right from linear programming, short root per chart, branch and bound, binary integer programming, mixed integer linear programming, simulated annealing, genetic algorithms, dynamic programming, etc. So moving on from the conventional classical or the conventional methods, what is being said, we move on to the meta heuristics for our solution nowadays. So the broader classification is shown in this slide, wherein the continuous optimization has unconstrained problems which are being solved using nonlinear equations, least square method, global optimization, non-differential optimizations. In the constrained one, we have again linear, nonlinear, bounded networking, stochastic programming, both in terms of constrained as well as discrete optimization methods. So having seen this particular graph, we can see that there are two different minimum values which are shown with respect to the y-axis here. The one which is near the number 1, the other one near or in between 4 and 5. So we will consider this as A, we will consider the other one as the B. Both have a lower value when it is being compared with its neighbors. So for example, it is being given in the 2D space. We see that the when compared with the neighboring values, these have the local or the minimum value. So we call that as local minimum. When I compare with my neighbors, they are called local minimum. But when I together see as the entire holistic scenario, I see that only one is the least value. For example, minus 25. The other one is around 0 or minus 2 or so. So minus 2 is also a minimum value, minus 25 is also a minimum value with respect to the y, but the minus 25 is being called as the global minimum and minus 2 is being called as the local minimum. So every function, every global function will be given as with multiple local minimums and only one as a global minimum. So when we are aiming for getting the minimum most value, always our intention should be to get the least value, which is the global minimum. So we appreciate the methods which are going to give us the global optimizer, which is given in this as X star, and which are the optimization methods which give the guarantee of reaching that global optimization has been chosen. So in case if the conventional or the classical methods have certain disadvantages of complexity in the mathematical calculation in one iteration, or it is not providing us with the global optimization, we will move on to the meta heuristic algorithms, namely genetic algorithm, particle swarm, and there are 20 and 30 optimization algorithms which has been developed in these 2 decades, and still PSO is being seen as the one which is powerful, such as because of the nature of less computation, as well as most probably giving the solutions for the global optimization. So particle swarm optimization, it's a evolutionary computational technique based on the movement and intelligence of swarms, looking for the most fertile feeding location, developed by James and Russell. It's a simple algorithm, easy to implement, and few parameters to adjust, mainly the velocity. So here we use the word swarm. A swarm is an apparently disorganized collection of moving individuals that tend to cluster together, while each individual seems to be moving in a random direction. So here, in the every optimization problem, what we need to understand here is it is basically a searching technique. Even in the search techniques, we call it as depth first search, and the other one is also there. So what we do there is we consider the n-dimensional space, for it is easy for us to understand based on the 3-dimensional space. So for example, in one of our classroom, for example, I have kept an object, a book, on the table, or a mobile on the writing table. So right now I am there at some initial position of my classroom or the room in which I am going to search the book or the mobile. So that initial position is my initial value. So how fast I am going to reach my object in the shortest distance, how am I easily going to search, is the searching mechanism. So in the 3-dimensional space, x, y, z of any particular classroom or any room, I will start from say 0, 0, 0, because I do not know my initial value where it is going to be there. So logically I don't have any other value to start with from the least value. So at the least value, what is the least value? X, Y, Z or 0. So in order to start from the search, let me change the x-axis. So let me move in the x-axis like 1, 0, 0, then 2, 0, 0, 0, 3, etc. Assume that we'll have the mobile at say 5, 6, 7. So the solution is there at the 5, 6, 7, which is the coordinate. So when we imagine this way, particular way, so somewhere at some point of time when I move from 0, 0, 0 to 10, 10, 10. What is 10? 10 feet size of the classroom. So 10 feet length, breadth and height. So in that the coordinate where I have kept the book is 5, 6, 7. So if I systematically process also in my increments of smaller increments of x-axis, y-axis, then z-axis, and then again repeating this in 100 possible ways, so somewhere I will be able to reach the point 5, 6, 7. So moving in steps logically in such way will definitely guarantee the reaching of the solution. But the problem is how far it will take, how many iterations it will take, how long it will take is the question. So technically from 0, 0, 0 to 5, 6, 7, if I move it in one shot, one step, it will be the best possible way. And moving on, instead of starting from the origin, I may be positioned at any point of time. Like I can be there in 8, 6, 7, or I can be there in 9, 10, 2. Whatever be the position, I have to reach the global optimized value where the book is available or the mobile is available. That is 5, 6, 7. So if any particular algorithm gives me the solution to reach to that particular 5, 6, 7 in the least possible way, that sort of algorithm is that what we are looking for, applying it in the varieties of field, right from civil, mechanical, electrical, computer science, etc. in all possible ways. So here, as said here in the swarm, is an apparently disorganized collection of moving individuals that tend to cluster together while each individual seems to be moving in the random direction. So instead of working on one particular solution, I am going to work on bunch of solutions. That is what we mean by collection or population of moving individuals. Here, individuals are nothing but every particular coordinate. So I am going to consider hundreds of coordinate or 10 coordinate, 10 random coordinates, and that too they are going to move in 10 random directions. And somewhere, instead of working on one person, if I am able to work on 10 different persons, at least any one of the 10% will get me the optimized solution which I am looking for, which is the mobile, which is at 5, 6, 7. So that is the concept behind the collection of moving individuals. So this sort of social behavior has been identified by one person, and the same thing is also available in the birds and fishes, etc. So the two different scientists in James and Russell combined together, they framed this optimization algorithm, which is called particle swarm optimization. So basically here what we call it as the number of particles, the number of agents that constitute a swarm moving around in the search space looking for the best solution. It is the same thing. So what we have seen now as an example of three-dimensional one, the same thing can also be expanded to n-dimensional in the design variables. Number of design variables is equal to the number of dimensions. N dimensions can be taken, and at one point of time, instead of 10, I can consider 100 particles also, or 200 particles also. So the expansion of the problem to a higher level, very higher level, is also feasible from one dimensional to the n dimensional. So when I decide that the problem is, when I have modeled an application as 5-dimensional problem, all my particles should be of 5-dimensional cases, and I can decide the number of population. So from one iteration to the next iteration, what do we mean by the iteration is, from one position to the next position, I am going to moving around. So a swarm is moving around continuously till it reaches the best solution. So swarm is important, its movement is important, and how far it is going to move, how far we are going to allow that to move is the best solution. So there are three things. Particles, where are they right now? In the next step, where are they going to be? And how are they going to reach? For every step, the same number of swarm or particles are going to be there. How are they going to move from one point to the one coordinate to the other coordinate is being decided based on the list of calculations what we have in the velocity and the position. So position is the particle and the velocity is going to decide the distance as well as the direction in which it is going to move. So every small step we call it as a iteration. In every iteration, the number of particles is going to be fixed. So how many steps am I going to take to reach my final solution is the number of iteration. How do I know that have I reached my best solution? You have to check always in every iteration with respect to the value of the objective function. What do you mean by the value of the objective function? In my three-dimensional space, x1, y1, z1, I have to substitute all my values in my objective function, which is f of x1, y or x, y, z, and I have to compute the actual numerical value of the function, and if that function value, a single value is reaching its maximum value or a minimum value, I can stop that. So I have to compare that with the previous values and to decide whether it is reaching at the global maximum or a global minimum. So what we need to do in every iteration is we have to take the particles, 100 particles, three-dimensional spaces, and I have to compute the 100 particles in say 50 iterations. So 50 into 100 particles I have to compute, I have to have before taking the final decision. But the beauty here is as I move in every step, 100 particles are reoriented or again shifted or moved or copied one over the other, so that at any instant of time I will be having 100 particles. So the number of particles, once if it is fixed, it will be at any instant of time I will be having the same number of particles, as well as when the problem is defined for say n design variables or 5 design variables, the problem is also a 5-dimensional problem which will not change. So with that we proceed with the algorithm. So each particle is treated as a point, as a coordinate in the n-dimensional spaces, which adjusts its flying according to its own flying experience as well as the flying experience of the other particles. So here comes the social interaction, how we adjust each other and live in a particular scenario or in a particular space. That is again the social interaction is being identified based on the movement of the birds in the V shape as a group. So you might have observed that V shape of the particular birds. I'll just show you. So here can see that at some point of time, one of the bird will be the leader and they will frame a V shape. As we observe, for every movement, for after certain minutes or certain seconds, we can see that the leader would have become the follower. The shape of the V will be equal. Left hand side will be smaller, right hand side will be higher. Then after some time, right hand side of the V will be higher, left hand side will be smaller. So we do not really understand why are they adjusting like that, because they adjust to have the smooth flow of their flocking towards the distance or towards reaching the target. They adjust according to the wind direction, wind velocity at that particular height for them. So they communicate among each other so that the leader is going to, or the front end bird is going to change its position so that somehow as a group, as a swarm, as a collective behavior, they will achieve their particular destination. So that sort of social behavior has been identified, and which is being incorporated into the mathematical equations here, and we can see that in the algorithm, the new position is equal to the old position plus the personal best position minus the current position plus global best position minus the current position. So there are three factors which are getting added in this one equation, new velocity is equal to old one. Okay, I am updating the old one plus my own best knowledge and the best knowledge from the neighboring hood or the global best knowledge. So these two are added, not directly added as such. It has been added with a random number generation here so that we don't take the knowledge as such from my personal experience for utilizing one particular decision at a particular point of time. I just take a portion of that my knowledge and utilize it here. Maybe in the next step I will utilize it more. In the third step I will be utilizing is less. So how best I am using my own knowledge for my own benefit in every iteration can also vary. That variety, that changing, that fluctuations, that probability is being brought into by the RAND function in both the cases. So the required number of varieties which are required to get the solution is being infused in these two categories of in the velocity equation by using the RAND function in both the terminologies. Now then next one is the new position equal to old position plus the velocity into time. Time is one step. So t is equal to 1. So velocity is directly added, velocity into 1 plus present position is equal to the newer position. So only these two equations are being used to get the final position and the new velocity. So as we have seen in the birds flocking, the speed or the velocity at which they move from one point to the other point slightly varies, so that variation is also captured here in their exchange of information as well as in their personal behavior as well as the group behavior. That is the beauty of our particle swarm optimization. So here there are two constants C1 and C2, which are the acceleration factors with respect to the global best and the local best. So the pseudo algorithm is for each particle, initialize the particle with a feasible random number. In other words, if we are given with the initial position as the best position which is available now, we can assume that. If not, start with a random position. So do the following for every particle. Calculate the fitness value, which is by substituting the present coordinate values in the objective function to get the one particular optimization function value, which is called as the fitness value. If the fitness value is better than the personal best, P best in history, set the new value or the current value as the P best and stop there for that particular particle. Do this for all particles. Then choose the particle with the best fitness value of all the particles as the G best. In other words, if it is a maximization function, I have 10 particles, calculate all the 10 fitness values, make it as in the descending order, take the first one as the G best. Maybe it is 7th particle. So for each particle, calculate the particle velocity according to velocity update equation, what we have just now seen. Update the particle position according to the second equation and stop it. So do the calculation of the fitness for all the particles, get the G best and P best, which are updated. Then based on that, when we move on to the next step, the G best, which is being selected right now, maybe of the particle 7, can be utilized for calculation in the equation as G best. Particle 7 will be constant for all the 10 what we are going to calculate, whereas P best will vary for all the 10 particles because personal best of each particle is going to change. So this is one set of iteration, and this set of iteration, one set of iteration is equivalent to one step of movement in the physical scenario in the 3-dimensional coordinate or n-dimensional coordinate. So what is the stopping criteria? While maximum iterations or minimum error criteria is attained, it's not, that is not attained, you have to repeat this n number of times. What is that maximum iteration? Blindly we can keep the number of iterations to be 50 or the number of iterations to be 100, or minimum criteria or the error between the previous best and the present best can be less than 0.001 or 0.001 in general. So I'll just move on to another slide where I will just focus on some important statements or concepts. So swarm intelligence is the emergence of collective intelligence. So it is characterized of composed of many individuals. Individuals are homogeneous and they have self-organization among themselves. So basically the components are initial solution, searching direction, how do we update, and how do we stop. So all these are going to be there for the all optimization solution algorithms, whether it is deterministic or stochastic. And this is the same concept which is going to be there for all the optimization algorithms. And how do that is being modeled? If it is based on the genetic DNA calculation, chromosomes, etc., we call that as genetic algorithm. If it is based on the bird's movement, we call it as particle swarm optimization. If it is based on movement of ant, we call it as ant colony optimization algorithm. Even we have teaching learning optimization algorithm, and so many things have come up. So everything has a mathematical, numerical imagination, what we have discussed as in. These are all the things which are going to be there. How does that updating criteria from one iteration to other iteration, how do we mathematically model? On what basis that mathematical modeling of the movement of the bunch of particles or the coordinates is being built? On what basis it is being built? If it is based on genetics, it is called genetic algorithm and so on. So if we are able to get a new set of updating mathematical proof based on a physical phenomenon, even we can have our own newer algorithm on optimization. So we also to be introduced with the two important words here. Meta-heuristics are high-level strategies that combine lower-level techniques for exploration and exploitation of the search space. So the solution should be there in the search space. How do we do that is exploration and exploitation. Exploration is, I'm there at one particular point, I search nearby places till my hand reaches, maybe a circle of 3 feet around. That is exploration. No, I don't have the solution. I have to move on to the other side of my room or the corner. So I have to take certain 5 steps through using my leg. Then that is exploitation. Diagonally moving from one end to the other end of the search space can be done by exploitation. Whereas in being positioned in one particular space and doing that search is what we mean by exploration. So the updating criteria of any algorithm should have these exploration and exploitation, so that the nearby local and global minimums or maximums can also be identified. So there are certain properties which has to be there for all optimization algorithms or strategies that guide the search process. The goal is to efficiently explore the search space in order to find the near optimal solutions at least. And more importantly, meta-heuristic algorithms of these natures are approximate and usually non-deterministic. Even then, they are powerful. Meta-heuristics are non-problem specific. So we have seen that it is using private knowledge and public knowledge. That means its own knowledge and the. So this diagram gives us how exactly the new velocity is being calculated. We can see that in a particular position X, I am there in that particular position. My intention is to go in the direction of what is being shown. My individual alone, my own interest. But when I look into the global best, it is by considering the other neighboring intentions and the knowledge. The other one is global based. So where do I go? Will I go towards only on the personal, or will I go only on the global? No, we have to compromise both on that and get the newer velocity. So in that fashion, we do every step so that we don't compromise or we don't lose both the personal best and the global best. So there are certain standard benchmark functions which are defined to define certain search spaces you can see that this is going to be one of the three-dimensional search space where we can see n number of maximums and minimums, and we can see that the yellow one is the global maximum. So how are we going to arrive? We can see that this is going to be a demo of how things are going to move. So in the two-dimensional space, what is being shown here, x1 and x2 are the two design variables, and we can see that the fitness value is the minimum in the white spaces, and it is the maximum in the darkest space. We can see that the central point is here. So I have certain 11 particles which are there in this two-dimensional spaces randomly distributed all along the entire space. You can see that almost every corner is being covered with at least one particular space. So that is why we are going for the random initialization, and we need to utilize such a random initialization function in the program such that the every range of a particular space is also being covered. So as we move in every step, you can see that some of the individual particles which are aligned nearby, they will also communicate among themselves and they will reach their own local maximum, and then they will move to the global maximum. So let us see one by one. So this is the movement in the first step, or n number of steps it can be. Slowly they align themselves towards the higher values. From white they move to the color. Those who are there in the color will move towards the darker space. And we can see that the entire set of 11 particles are aligned as 6 towards the global maximum and 5 towards the local maximum. So what I say here at the bottommost, which is near to the x-axis, the one set of collection is towards the local maximum, which is near the x-axis value, whereas at the center they have moved toward the maximum value toward the global one. So now it has reached the maximum value. So this is how the bunch of solutions will move toward the final solution. So having seen such a algorithm and how it can be utilized, so we will move on to one particular important concept behind every classification algorithms which are available in the applications. So classification is like as we have seen in the morning also, we have seen the PD classification or PD data. So that can be considered as a small set of numbers in x-axis or x pattern or row wise or column wise, so that we have a set of data and I can combine them as groups, grouping in terms of the similarity of the numerals in a particular set of rows. So having thousands of patterns, I have to group them as whether it is a fault or no fault, or it is yes or no. So any such sort of classification can also be required. So for doing that, we call it as the clustering problem. So clustering is partitioning of a data into subsets, in other words, clusters, groups, so that the data in each subset share some common features, often based on some similarity. So when we deal everything in numbers, the similarity is with respect to the numerals, whether it is a set of negative numbers, whether it is a set of zeros or set of ones. So finally, the similarity, what we do with the magic of numbers is the similarity, and we don't look into the similarity in the entire space or entire consideration. We can even segment that, and in some segment, if it is similar, we can group them as one particular cluster. That is what we mean by in each subset share some common features. It is not written as share all common features. So some common features which exhibit the similarity in terms of the numerals here. So given 100 data, I can group them into 4 or 5 or etc. So basically clustering is a NP hard problem, no optimal solution in polynomial time. We need heuristic efficient algorithms, it can be formulated as an optimization method. So how do we do that? The partition technique usually produce clusters by optimizing a criterion function. What is that criterion function? The function which is shown here. So double sigma magnitude xi minus mu I j square. So here we see that the squared error criterion is minimized. Error is, what is the actual value? What is the target? Or x minus mu. It can be positive, it can be negative. I just want to eliminate the negative, so I am making it as a square. So that positive valued error, if I sum up for all such clusters of a particular data set by double sigma, then if the fitness value of f is minimum, then that sort of clusters is the good for the given set of data. So to understand further, where xi is the data pattern pertaining to cluster I. X is the data set. So I is the cluster I. So how many clusters are there? Yes, we need to decide on that. So I clusters are there. Okay. When I have one cluster, what is mu of I or mu of j? Mu j is the center of the cluster j and k is the number of clusters. So j equal to 1 to k. So if I have k clusters, I have k centers. And for every data, I have to take the center of the cluster and get that error. And I have to minimize that error with the every cluster being considered. To understand further, we'll move on here. Yeah. So please consider this particular diagram which is shown here. In the global minimum and local minimum, there are certain coordinates which are given as different colors, namely red, blue, green, etc. So in the global minimum, in the local minimum, you can see that the colors are grouped in two different fashions. Let us consider the local minimum first. In the local minimum, assume that it has a 40 data set, and in the local minimum, they have been grouped as 4. Ultimately, they have been grouped, they have been clustered. But the problem here is, we have grouped the dissimilar colors as one cluster in the local minimum, which is there on the right hand side. Dissimilar colors are also grouped as similar cluster, or I have put different type of objects in a single box. So that is the local minimum. But anyway, I am able to group it. But now, when we move on to the global minimum, which is on the left hand side, we can see very clearly that even now I have grouped them as 4 groups. And we can see that there is no overlap of the colors here. So please just imagine this as the two-dimensional space where I have placed 40 different clusters, 40 different coordinates, and I'm grouping them based on those things. So where are they positioned? As seen in the diagram, they are positioned in that particular circles. Every circle in this particular, both the graphs are going to represent a coordinate, and that particular coordinate is going to have its own x value and y value, x1, y1, x2, y2, etc. up to x40 and y40. How do I group them? After I group them according to the color, you can see that there is a center for every circle. Why do we call it as a center? The center is a common one for all such clusters which are equidistant from there. So how do I do that? That is using the Gaussian function, where when my coordinate is exactly at the center, I have the maximum output. The Gaussian function, we all know that the hat function, where from the middle of my origin, when I move on both the sides towards the higher values of x, the slope or the y-axis value is reducing. So after certain value, it becomes a saturated value. Maybe it is 0 or with a very low value. So with that hat, I can cover certain clusters, so that if I have the best possible centers for the given data, then it becomes the global minimum. If I don't have the proper center, I cross overlap on some of my data. That cross overlap is being shown here in the different colors format here. So in the defining the problem, we have applied certain methodology. So the objective function is being again minimizing the distances for all such calculations. For example, I have 40 data set. For 40 data set, I have 4 centers. So for all the 40 data set, for every center, what is the minimum distance? If I sum up all the deviations of the data center from their data patterns, from their individual centers, if I sum up all such distance values and the cumulative calculation for all the clusters of the entire data set, if it is minimum, that is the best combination. That is the meaning of the double summation. One summation is for the number of clusters, another summation is for the number of data points in that particular cluster. So j is equal to 1 to k. The example what we are saying is k is equal to 4, and I have 10 points in every cluster. So such problem is what we mean by the clustering algorithm, so that I can easily divide them based on their coordinate values itself. So this is an unsupervised mechanism. You don't need to give any other guidance except the data points itself. So such clustering algorithms are always the pre-processing algorithm before any particular classification, pattern classification algorithm. There are certain algorithms, namely k-means algorithm, c-means algorithm, modified k-means algorithm, fuzzy k-means algorithm, which are there. So what is the drawback of them? Often terminate at local minimum, generate empty clusters also, and they are not able to handle the noisy data and outliers. Outliers are in the data set, we will not be able to say very clearly, like at all point of time, that it is errorless. That means we have certain data which are beyond the boundary of what we have as minimum and maximum. Those things are all called outliers. So to do that, we have applied the PSO algorithm. So the clustering can also be done by the PSO algorithm. And whatever we have explained about the local minimum and global minimum is shown here. So why PSO based clustering? It will reach global optimum high quality than traditional methods such as k-means, which has been proved in some of the literatures. Not sensitive for noisy and outlier data, it rejects those values, or it minimizes the impact of errors, impact of noise in the algorithm. It avoids the problem of generating empty clusters. So this is the same algorithm what we had seen already. So generate the randomize the initialized population for every position. You are going to calculate the global minimum and the personal best. So while the termination condition is not reached, do it for 1 to number of particles. For every particle, calculate the fitness, update their personal best and G best, update the velocity, update the position. Do this for every particle and do this till we get the best possible solution after certain number of iterations, or whether the error between the previous iteration and this iteration is very less. So in the data clustering formulation, we have applied this, and the output is the result is high intra-class similarity and low interclass similarity. That means maximizing the distance between the clusters because non-overlapping, because I wanted to group them with very distinct parameters, whereas within the centers, within the clusters, all should be same. For example, I have say hundreds of pencil and other stationary objects on my table. I wanted to group them into say 4 groups, and all the 4 groups should have been different, but between the number of pens, I can have any variety of pen, but all the pens should be grouped as one cluster, all pencils should be grouped as another cluster, all other sketches should be grouped as another cluster. So there should not be any overlap between the pen and pencil, but there can be smaller variations among the pencils, the types, but all should be pencil. With that particular concept of pencil, it should be similar. So that is the point behind it. So each particle is given as with the vector, where Ci represents the ith cluster centroid values, K is the number of clusters, and the same algorithm which is applied for this. K-means cluster is shown here, which is very systematic approach, but it will not ensuring the arrival of the global west. It will take a set of, it will start with the number of clusters as 2, because there is no meaning of one cluster. So it will start from K is equal to 2 from K is equal to 10 or 20 or 50 based on the size of the data set. So with that, it will start from K equal to 2, K equal to 3, K equal to 4, K equal to 5. It will go on doing it repeatedly, recomputation and etc. If it is good for say K is equal to 12 and the data set is 1000 and there are n number of combinations of that 12 groups for that 1000 data, and that also has to be computed under number of times. So in fact, it's going to take lot of iterations, and some of the time the result is not so best. So it has been applied for the PSO has been applied. So the PSO algorithm and K-means were tested for 3 types of data set: larger data set, smaller data set with a noise and error. And PSO has generated the high quality clustering. You can see that there are 9 groups here, where we can see that there is no overlapping of colors. And we can see that the number of iterations as it improves in the right side graph, PSO fitness, as the number of iterations increases, the fitness value reduces from higher value to the lower value, which is the f of minimizing the distance, and we need the least value. So when it gets saturated, we stop the iterations. So K-means algorithms results are shown here. K-means generate empty clusters. You can see that there are 2 different plus symbols which are here, which are available as a single data point which is left out. Such things are called empty clusters, and even the colors are overlapping here in the local minimum. Some of the clusters have overlapping clusters or data points. So PSO, we can see that it generates 9 clusters with no overlapping colors. Colors indicate the similarity, but here we again for 9 clusters with K-means, it also provides a similar solution, but there are certain overlapping which is seen here in the clusters. So same thing for the global minimum, we can see that similar non-overlapping of color, etc. So this gives us the advantage of having PSO as a better option over the K-means conventional one. So PSO does not get affected by noisy and outlier. Outlier are these 2, blue and pink here, the extreme data, whereas K-means is being affected by such values, because you can see that the outliers in the right side graph, you can see that the outlier which is being shown is identified as one particular cluster, wherein the other entire set of data is being identified as one cluster, because we wanted to have it as 2 clusters. Whereas here you can see that green is one cluster, the other pink is the another cluster. So PSO has been proved better. So swarm intelligence is a population-based research technique, which avoids the problem that arises with the K-means clustering, such as terminating at local minimum, generating empty clusters, and sensitive to noisy data outliers. These are all the negatives which are being overcome in PSO when compared with K-means. And a similar extension of one particular example is The second application is again related with the neural network. What we had already done is, as many of us have already worked on such ANNs. So here in the neural networks, we have a set of layers. Every single node which is shown here is going to be a neuron. I will be able to explain only this right now for the better understanding. Every neuron here is connected with, every neuron in one particular layer is connected with all the other neurons in the next layer. If it has a feedback mechanism, it will be connected to its own output as well as the next value. So here, for the pattern recognition, pattern classification and optimization problems also, we can apply this ANN. So wherein there is a set of values which we call it as the weights value, which are in between the two layers of the architecture. So architecture is the way in which we are going to connect the neurons in particular application. The weight values have to be unique. Why should it be unique is, the answer is, for example, in this architecture, if I have considered the 4 input AND gate, that means there are 4 input values, 4 input features are available, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, it can be varied up to 2 power 4, so 16 combinations, so 1, 1, 1. So binary value I have considered, so 4 zeros to 4 ones, 16 combinations are possible. So that particular values are given as the input here. Whereas when I see the output, I am taking the output as the single output. So 4 input AND gate, the output is, when all the 4 inputs are 1, the output is going to be 1. So the 4 input NAND gate is also going to have the same set of input features, namely 4 zeros to 4 ones. But what should be the output? Only when 4 ones, 4 variables are 1, the output should be 0. So I can see the 4 input AND gate and the 4 input NAND gate as two extreme opposite data sets for a 4 input training of ANN. I can have the same architecture diagram, but still I can solve the 4 input AND gate as well as the 4 input NAND gate using the same architecture, provided I have the different set of weightages to suit one for 4 input AND gate and one for 4 input NAND gates. 1 second. So how do I get that weightage values? We call that as a training. Training is the repetitive, iterative process which is being adopted based on the set of input features and the output features in the ANN algorithm, wherein the architecture along with its embedded weightage values is exhibiting the least error in the output. So that iterative process, after converting the real-time application to the mathematical modeling and that data set which is being collected from the real-time scenario is going to be utilized for training the neural network. So there are certain gradient descent based search algorithms. Again, it is the training process. Training algorithm is also a search algorithm, what we were discussing so far. So some of the traditional algorithms have been already being used. So hence, because it is a search algorithm, the training process is a search algorithm, still we can use the optimization problems or PSO as the substitute or equivalent one or a better one to get the global optimum there. So now let us see this equation, what is shown here, where F is the fitness value and S is the number of training set samples, O is the output in every neuron. You can see that T is the target of the kth output, P is the predicted output at that value. Prediction is using the neural network. In other words, we are calculating using the neural network architecture one with respect to one particular iteration based on the weight values at that particular point of time. As we can see that the P, the predicted output value, is a function of W, function of W. The error value, which is the difference between the target and the predicted output, can also be varied. So such one is what we have seen as the squared root mean square error value. So if my root mean square error value or the fitness value of this function is the minimum, which means that whatever is being predicted from the algorithm, also in other words, the neural network right now is the best one, because the error is less. So to find out such W, a set of unique values of W which will suit for the present set of data, which is the input sector related with the output sector, is what we mean by the training patterns. For that particular training patterns, if the present set of W is suitable, then we can stop. So going back to our 4-input NAND gate or AND gate example, the architecture remains the same, whereas the 4-input AND gate and the 4-input output NAND gate, the output values are totally different. So I have to retrain the same architecture for NAND gate and AND gate 2 times separately. So W values plays a crucial role in deciding the functionality of the given architecture of any artificial neural network, be it any pattern classification problem or pattern recognition problem. So the minimization function can also be seen again as an optimization problem here. The weight values can be given its minimum and maximum values, namely -1 to +1. With that assumption, we can do that minimization problem using PSO, and we can see that such has been applied in the perceptron, where backpropagation is the traditional algorithm which has been based on the gradient search algorithm which has been used, and we can see that in the PSO based perceptron algorithm, where the error reduces faster and the fitness value is also reaching its good value in a better time. So the PSO has been proved to be better in training some of the ANN or some of the neural network applications for few applications. The most important point what we need to remember with respect to any optimization problem is like where if the optimization problem which we are working on is suited for one particular scenario, doesn't guarantee that it is universally suited for any problem with any value or any number of variables and etc. It is not so. It is suited. We can conclude safely that for such problem with so many number of design variables, with this sort of constraints, with the range of the variables of the design variables, we can compare the backpropagation and the PSO algorithm, and we found that PSO is performing better with all these criteria. We can never say that it is the universal solution which can be adopted for complete solution methodology. No. So all meta-heuristic algorithms are global optimizing algorithms or optimizer algorithm provided with certain conditions to be applied. This table gives us the training and validation algorithms, how the prediction rate has been improved. And this gives the, we can see that how the PSO training and testing errors have been improved with respect to this one. So with this, I leave it for any discussion or so.
Any queries from participants? If there is no queries, then we can close our sessions. Any queries from the participants? Right. So thank you, Professor Ratnam sir, for your valuable presentations regarding the PSO. We have learned a lot how we can implement this PSO in our field also. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much
sir.
for your
Thank you,
valuable
sir.
time.
I have also collected certain important documents related to that.
Okay,
I will
sir.
share it with you, sir, along with the PPT. It will help us.
Sure,
There
sir.
are
I'll
certain
send it all
papers
the
which has been done by some of the authors, like how PSO has been applied in varieties of applications in the entire scenarios. So I'll share that, sir.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Thank you, sir.
presentation. Thank you. So thank you all for your day one participations. Hopefully tomorrow morning we start our day two sessions. So I will send you the mail. Hopefully within half an hour I will send the second day schedule for your day two schedule presentations. So hopefully we can meet in tomorrow morning sessions at 10:30. So thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.